By the time you're finished listening to this Pepsi Zero Sugar, you'll be 15 seconds closer to kickoff. Stock up now. Bengals game day is so close, you can almost taste it. Bengals watching. Better with Pepsi.
I'm Carol from Sunbury, Ohio.
I'm a Republican, but I don't care who does the job as long as the job gets done. That's why I like Sherrod Brown. He stood up to both parties on China and worked with Republicans to fight fentanyl because Sherrod fights for Ohio. That's leadership.
Paid for by friends of Sherrod Brown.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm a congested and vaguely annoyed Trev Downey, and to give me their immediate reactions to Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2 in the Premier League from the Emirates are Jim Boardman and Karl Matchett. Jim, I just joined you guys there and you were kind of mid-chat. From what I could pick up, I think your sentiments were pretty much exactly what I'd have been mumbling had I been there a minute or two earlier. Not a great game standard-wise. Certainly a poor performance from the Reds. Overall, the first half comparatively appalling at times. Second half, no doubt about it, we absolutely improved up the ante and did restrict Arsenal in terms of any chances created at all worth a damn. But again, just nothing really inspirational about it. And I think probably the entirety of the Liverpool watching population were having a good old moan about Trent's terrible passing, when all of a sudden he does pull a rabbit out of a hat and we have a very lovely equaliser. Probably deserved, I think, on the second half performance, Jim. But it would have been pushing it to say that the Reds deserved a win there. And I think probably pushing it is an understatement. I don't think it would have been fair to say that we deserved a win there. Probably the right result overall. It doesn't do a huge amount to the table, Jim, in terms of, we were ahead of City by a point. They edge ahead of us by a point now. We keep Arsenal 4 behind us. We keep Aston Villa 4 behind us. So it's kind of status quo, a shitty City result some week and we can edge back in front again if we stay where we are. It's not bad in terms of damage, I don't think, but it's not as inspiring, I think, as all of us would have loved to see today.
No, it's frustrating. I mean, Jay and I doing Scouts and Tommies the other day, and kind of came to the conclusion that a draw would be a good result today, but you're also thinking a win would be an amazing result because you keep yourselves on top of the table. It's everyone else's job to try and stop you then, rather than you having to sort of hope for something from them, hope for a slip up from them. And I think, I'm still happy with the draw. I'm still happy with the points. Just not happy with how we went about getting the points. And, the more you look back on it, the more you think, we kind of got out of jail at times because they seem to have a lot more threat than us going forward. And the sort of shots on goal stats don't prove it, but I'm sure XG or something would probably say they were the more threatening. We just didn't seem to threaten when we had the ball. The periods of the game where we had control, it was as if they were saying, you have that control, lads, because you're not really doing much with it and you don't look like you're going to do. And you're right with what you're saying about Trent. And I was also thinking, I actually thought when the first lot of subs was coming on, why not take Salah off? Be brave and take Salah off at this point because he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Move Diaz over maybe. And and obviously Salah stayed on, and I'm thinking, wow, he stayed on, he's a great player, and you're starting to think to yourself, but maybe we're at the time now he's not going to be good every game, and you start thinking all this. But then, the thing about Mo Salah, and I suppose that's why you keep him on, he only needs a minute to do something magical, and that's basically he played his part just at the very, almost at the end there. But even the fact that we'd got back to 2-2, and it felt like it was very much like, my God, we've managed it. We've got another goal back. How have we done that? Quick, go home before anyone sees. But I still think we could have made it 3-2 if we'd have, really pushed. But I don't know. Overall, it felt like we gave them just far too much respect. It felt like we'd sort of almost gone back into our shells. It felt like an older Liverpool team that maybe would have gone somewhere like that and would have sort of almost gone for the draw, almost sort of been made up with the draw, as if that was a huge achievement. Whereas in my, I'm just thinking it's not a bad thing to have. I think we're a lot better than we played today. Or either that or this was a reality check, and I'm not sure. That's the good thing about doing Raw. It gives you a chance to say what you think in the moment. So maybe after a few days I'll have a rethink. But at the moment I am torn between whether today was a bit of a reality check. Certainly there's certain positions on the field that if Schlott doesn't know now that he needs to spend some money, he's never going to know. Just thinking towards the left-hand side of things. But and just some depth and just some options off the bench. It was just such a frustrating game because I do feel like we got away with that because I don't think we played well enough really to all the way through the game. There were too many slip-ups, too many errors, too little interest in doing the right thing, and too much playing into the ref's hands as well, I would say as well. You could tell that in the first half they just wanted to try and get set pieces against us, and they were getting them very easily, and I just think I've seen us do that before. We just need to get smarter at dealing with those situations and not giving away the silly free kicks against the ref who, let's face it, he's not our best friend. I don't think he's biased, but I do think he could quite often fall for the home fans, and he seemed to do that today. But yeah, the phrase that's in my head is getting out of jail, and I think that's how it feels today for me. And it's a shame, but we're so much better than this, and I just hope we use this to go and learn from it. We gave them too much respect. We should have been down their throats more than we were.
Yeah, well, we'll take a prison break, all right. And Karl, I hate to do this and sort of invoke ideas that we'd rather not have to think about, but it is, as Jim says, getting close to the time when we can shake things up a bit, and when even the likes of Jamie Carragher are coming out and saying that that there is probably a title challenge there were we to go and strengthen, but that is absolutely a necessity. That common sense is breaking through to almost everybody. Jim's mentioned there that there's a few places that we could do with strengthening, and look, again, I don't want to lead you down any path too early that you don't want to go down, and it's not about hanging anyone out to dry at all. Let's just talk in a more general terms. Attitudinally, that was a really weird first half from Liverpool attitudinally. I hate, again, to invoke another thing, but intensity was a word that we used to hear a lot in the Klopp era, mainly because of a certain lad who wrote a certain book. But it was something that we were absolutely, we would expect from the team. And this calmer approach is fine when we're tidy. But when you're lacking intensity and also sloppy, like the Reds were in that first half, it's a bad combo, man.
Yeah, I don't want to go to town too much on this, because ultimately if you come out of a game against Arsenal and you're away from home and it's 2-2 and you've scored late on to take a point, if you just said those things to people, then they would probably think, really good game, end to end maybe. Liverpool fought back twice, so that shows good resilience and all the rest of it. And those things sound quite positive against a title rival. But to again sort of hark back to last season and use one of your words for this type of performance, not the result, just the performance, it was a bit poo, wasn't it? Let's be honest, it was. I think it was a bit of a surprise to see how not aggressive we were. Like you say, we are a calmer team this year, and we seem to try to have a lot more control this year. But if you don't have that, or if the opposition stops you from having that, you've still got to put in the other stuff, like the fighting stuff and the working stuff off the ball and the hard running and the quick running. We were just so lax about everything for, I think, actually most of this match. I know we'll get onto the second half and there was an uptick and all the rest of it, but it was still like at one speed. And this wasn't a game that really called for that one speed. I think we do need to be, whether it's a slot thing or whether it's the team thing or whether it's just the occasion on the day, I think we need to be a bit more aware that sometimes you're going to be forced into having to play better, and you have to, not better, quicker, and you have to react that way, even if it's off the ball and not just in possession passing quicker, but just your movement is quicker, your reactions to second balls are quicker, your ability to get into shape from set pieces quicker, everything. Like, it was just really, really weird is the right word. Like, it was one-dimensional today. I don't think Liverpool approached this like a big game, or if they did, they approached it as though they were the underdogs in a big game, which I don't really understand, get, or like any of those things. But that's the way that we played it. It seemed like we were going to go and try to stop Arsenal and maybe, after quieting them down, try and impose ourselves, but that part never really happened. And I think, although there are definite positives to take, and like I said, the resilience to come back a couple of times is a big positive, and we did do enough to take a point, and we didn't get beaten by Arsenal. It is a good result, but not a good performance. And I think it's okay to say that.
There's a large element of underwhelm for sure at the moment in me, and I'm just being honest. And objectively, a point, as you say, against a title rival away from home when you've been down twice in the match is a good result, in inverted commas. It just felt, like I said, like there was something very much lacking from the performance, certainly in the first half. And in terms of maybe going for the jugular then in the latter part of the match, where you'd like to have seen us chase that win in a way that was a little bit more perhaps determined than what we actually saw. I'm not quite sure where to go with it here in terms of which team first, but I know that you have looked ahead to this game and listened to yourself chatting about and looking ahead to this game. So I'm going to just actually stick with you for a second, Karl, and talk about that Arsenal team. They were, and it's gonna just so you're kind of ready for it, Jim. When I'm talking about the Liverpool team, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is whether or not that lineup filled you with enthusiasm that we'd come out of the blocks and be harrying and harassing, because it kind of did me. I was worried about the lack of a certain Mr. Szoboszlai's engine, but we'll get to that, you and I, Jim, in a minute on the Liverpool team. As for the Arsenal lineup today, Karl, it's, having heard about all the injuries and all the rest of it, you're still quite taken aback by the strength that they have at the moment. They are up there challenging for the title for the last couple of seasons for a reason. There are a lot of good footballers at Arsenal Football Club, and they put out today Raya, Partey, White, Gabriel and Timber, Marino and Rice, Saka, Havertz, Trossard and Martinelli. And that's a good fucking team, Karl, is what that is. It might not be their best team, but it's a very, very solid team full of very, very good footballers. And still on the bench. Yeah, sorry.
Trev, we go for the subs in a minute, but like this has been the thing all week, right? And it's really, really weird. I don't really know where it's come from other than the fact that Arsenal haven't had any injuries for 2 years. But who's missing from that lineup that you've just said?
Who's missing?
From their regular 11, who's missing?
Saliba.
And Odegaard. And that's it.
And Odegaard.
It's two players.
Yeah. That's
like,
it. That's it.
It's been like a thing of like Arsenal under strength and Arsenal missing players and all the rest of it. They weren't any more under strength than we were. It isn't Alisson and Jota. Top players starts as either end of the pitch. I don't really understand why there's been such a big thing this week and during the match as well about Arsenal missing a load of players or being under strength or anything. They weren't in the slightest. So
you know what it is, Karl?
It's for ages.
It's narrative trademark. It's what it is. It's just pure narrative, and it's the laziest thing in the world. And like I was saying, when you then go to their bench and they've got Neto, they've got Gabby Jesus, come on, they've got Kivior, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Sterling, Lewis Skelly, and Nwaneri as well as Nichols. It's just pure narrative that they were like some way like decimated. What did you think of the way that they lined up? It's an interesting shape, and I felt like we were very much second best in terms of second to everything, and dominated in the midfield as well. Did you can you see a reason why that was from the way the lineups went, and specifically the people Arsenal chose to play today?
I mean, like, the only real decision that they had to make once Timber was fit, because he was the one that they were touch and go over, to be fair. But once he could play, it was just about who to play centre-back alongside Gabriel. So options they would have had was to actually play a centre-back in Kiwior, or they could have moved Rice back feasibly, or they moved White inside and put Tomas right back, which is obviously the one they chose in the end. So there's no issue with the players that they had in place in terms of them all in those lineups. I know Tomas is obviously usually defensive mid for them, but he's played right back loads before, plenty. Over in La Liga, he played there loads. Right midfield, right back, left midfield, all over the place. So it's not like a new position. He wasn't out of position or anything of the sort. And Ben White, let's not forget, was a £50 million signing to play centre-back. It's just that he's moved out right back once they've obviously brought Saliba back and all the rest of it. So the lineup was perfectly fine, perfectly strong. As for the midfield, and you're absolutely right, they dominated this first half. They were swarming all over us in midfield first half. There's only two real reasons for it. One, obviously, we off the ball tend to go a little bit with our nominal number 10 a little bit higher upfield for the first pass, for the first press. So we leave a double pivot centrally. And Trossard was dropping back quite a lot for them, so they did quite often have an overload. But far more important than that was just the fact that they were quicker and more aggressive. And we weren't first half at all. We were really, really slow paced. Not just with our passing, like I said, but for the challenge, for the second balls, for getting close to the person who was on the ball. It was like we were really happy to sit off and not really do too much and just see what they were going to do with their passing. And they were the opposite of that. Like, Arsenal weren't great on the ball, I wouldn't say, but they were really fast to the ball, really aggressive. Declan Rice probably had one of his better performances of this season, to be honest. He was a lot quicker into the challenge, quicker to move the ball forward.
Deciding which credit card or loan is right for you is like trying to choose where you want to eat for dinner. Except when you finally get to the restaurant, the menu's riddled with jargon that no average foodie could understand. So at Credit Karma, we keep things simple. We show you personalized recommendations that align with your money goals and help you turn the confusing fine print into terms you can actually understand. And as a cherry on top, we provide a detailed overview for a new card or loan before you apply. That way, we can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
The time for holiday hosting is upon us, so make your second bathroom second to none with HomeDepot.com's best savings of the season. Right now, enjoy up to 40% off select online bath. Find the latest on-trend styles of vanities, faucets, showers, tubs, toilets, and more, all at prices that will let your budget relax right along with you and your beautifully renovated bath. Get up to 40% off select online bath plus free delivery at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see HomeDepot.com/delivery for details.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Marino, I think he was hit and miss on the ball, but obviously he had a couple of really big impacts. But yeah, I genuinely think it's just the speed of play that they had and the speed off the ball, movement and how aggressive they were. That's why they dominated us in midfield, and that again is more about our lack of not sure, involvement in the game, headspace in the game, whatever it was not a good thing to have away to Arsenal.
I agree. And that attitudinal thing, Jim, is something we might look at, you and I, as we look at the Liverpool lineup, because when you start with Kelleher, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson, you've got as good as we can put out there now currently in terms of defence, with Alisson injured. At least theoretically you do. McAllister, Gravenberg and Jones was the midfield choice. And, listening to people talking during the week, including our own sadly missed today, Dave Hendrick, I think most of us were kind of a mindset that, it's going to be either Cody or Dom probably. And that's fine because they're both excellent but give you different things. And then Salah, Núñez and Diaz is, again, the best that we can do at the moment up top because of the injury to Jota. And some people would say, it's a swing and a miss as to who gets that number 9 position anyway, depending on form. Probably Cody Gakpo could count himself unfortunate to be out again for Diaz, but with the form Diaz has shown this season on balance, I think that made sense as a selection as well. So our bench is Yaros and Davies, Gomez, Endo, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Tsimikas, Quansah and Morton. And again, the couple of injuries there tell a tale of less impressive looking than usual Liverpool bench. But talk to me around the selection today. What do you think it made sense? If you would, we can all be sort of wise after the event and say, there's a good chance if Saka plays, he might do a bit of a number on Robbo. There's a good chance if the midfield lacks Dom Szoboszlai, we might lack the intensity and energy and engine that has been vital, even though an awful lot of people don't seem to value that part of Dom Szoboszlai's game. So after the event, wisdom is one thing. When you saw that lineup prior to kickoff, was it something that filled you with confidence? Because I have to say, it did me.
It's the same with me. I mean, you could see from the way the team lined up in midweek and the subs that were made and stuff, it felt like, he'd written it quite clearly what his team lineup, what his team sheet was going to be. If all went well. He'd bigged Jones up and said that Jones only missed out in midweek because he'd not played a lot of football and didn't want to. Well, he basically said, I don't want to play him 3 times in a row, so I'll make him miss this one. Obviously, that makes it clear he's coming in. And I think with the midfield, if you like the so-called midfield 3, Gravenberch feels like he's immovable for at the moment. He's generally played well. I mean, it wasn't his best game today, but I think, I don't know, I don't think he's done enough badly wrong with the season so far to lose his spot, which just then gives you sort of three people for 2 positions, which today Dom was the one who missed out. And I mean, this is the side I probably would have put out because, Jones played so well last weekend. He was personally my man of the match. Yeah, he feels wrong for him not to get another chance as soon as he can. I think the only issue was, as the game went on, we think of this as the midfield 3, but really he's kind of playing, I don't know, he's sort of as almost as if he's sort of playing as it's much further forward, isn't it? It's almost not a midfield. If they had to join a union, the defenders union, the midfielders union, the forwards union would have been saying, you're encroaching on our territory a bit too much here, Curtis, and I don't know if that's the best place for him. I think he played better, playing slightly deeper, if you like, in game last weekend. But then that makes me feel like I'm sort of singling him out, and I don't think he played particularly badly compared to anyone else in the team. I just don't think, I don't know what match ratings people would have given our players today, but I'm trying to think of anyone I would have given more than a 6 out of 10 to, and that's just feels like how we played today. Ibu, I'd give him plenty. He played well today. Virgil was good, but he had a couple of moments. But yeah, on the whole, this was, I think, the best team we could have put out today. And if you look at the bench, Arsenal crying about injuries. Whenever I think of injuries, I think of Nat Phillips and his headband, his bandage on his head and things like that. These to me are injury crises when you're in that sort of situation. They were nowhere near that. And the fact we've got 2 keepers on the bench, I know we've got the sub-keeper on the pitch. We've basically got to a point where we've got our 4th choice keeper as one of our extra subs on the bench. And to me, that suggests we're starting to get just a little bit thin on the ground, which is a worry in itself, because then you look at who can come on and change the game. And that, to me, maybe the starting 11 was great, and it was pretty much where I would have gone with, pretty much as you said you would have gone with. I think the issue is if, as the game goes on, it's not working out, how can you shake things up? And I'm not sure it really works. I mean, I don't know, maybe Dom isn't a sort of player who can come on and make an impact late on. Maybe he needs to be on from the start. Cody can come on. You know, he sort of has to. He has to get used to that. But again, I'm not sure the right subs were made. But given the team we've got, this is the best we've got. And whether you pick Robbo or you pick Tsimikas, I think, you know, Robbo in that situation, the Robbo we've got now isn't the Robbo we had before. The Tsimikas we've got now is the Tsimikas we had before. And I'd say they're about on a par now, which is why I think, you know, that is one part of the pitch we definitely need to look at strengthening. Or, as you mentioned earlier on, put Gomez into that spot, but because he's a bit more defensive minded and maybe against that player, that's the kind of person you would have had there. But yeah, on the whole, that team should have done better, and that's what it boils down to. I had no qualms with that team before kickoff today, and I'm more annoyed at the performances than the choice of players.
Same. I was very, very excited to see what they could do and put together. And the only other player I thought that might have warranted a 6 for the impact that they had when they came on was actually, ironically, Tsimikas. I thought he did very well and has, you know, looked quite bright on several occasions this season. But I also always have that little lingering suspicion that something could go terribly wrong.
I think that's the thing. You can play well. You can do you could do a definitely good highlight clip from him in a YouTube clip for one game of him, but you also know you could definitely get a couple of bad TikToks out of it. So
for sure. Just to get this out of the way, because people will often expect that we'll look at it. Anthony Taylor today is what he is, and if we just look at the stats for the match, we had 9 shots each. 4 on target for the Reds, 3 for Arsenal. We had 55% of the ball to their 45. We made 458 passes to their 385. Similar pass accuracy, 82 the Reds, 80 for Arsenal. 14 fouls each, and this is where we're getting back to the ref. 2 yellow cards each. I think that's actually wrong, that stat here, because I think he was firing around quite a few yellow cards at the bench. Now maybe
we had 2 at the bench, yeah.
We definitely had 2 at the bench, and Darwin definitely got 1. Mac definitely got 1. So I think this stat is well off here. And, you know, similar-ish corners and offside decisions and all the rest of it, although one of them was a major one. We won't complain about. One of them we might complain about. What I'm saying to you is Taylor's just another one of these guys that are just kind of okay-ish at their job, and probably on balance today, we might just be as happy to nod politely at him as to dig him out, because it was a bit of a I think equally poor on both sides performance. Now we'll get to that, and we'll get to the match details.
Trev, if you want to compare him to your best mate, Mr. Hooper, from the earlier match today, then Anthony Taylor might be man of the match, actually.
Well, there you go. I mean, there you go. Or John Brooks, or even Swiss John Brooks. You know, all Anthony's coming out smelling of roses. Karl, the game starts, and it's a kind of a cagey-ish opening 7 minutes. 2 teams, I think the term is, feeling each other out. And nothing really happens of note until it does on the 8th minute. And we'll just pause for a minute and talk about this, you and I, because it's the Saka goal. And it's a ball forward from Ben White, kind of straight down the channel. It kind of goes over the top of Robbo and Saka, who are chasing towards it. And Saka manages with a very deft touch to cut back inside and simultaneously nutmeg Robbo, who's now just completely out of it. And then, to be fair to Saka, he has the wherewithal to strike the ball immediately when he cuts in with his left foot high into the net at the near post. It's a really well taken goal, and I think there might have been 1 or 2 grumbling about Queeve, but that's a tough one to save, and he does blast it from pretty much point blank. So I'm not having any issues with Queeving there necessarily. Gary Neville, who was painful to listen to for the duration of the Sky coverage I was watching, was having a good old moan about Virgil not getting back, and it doesn't look great because he is kind of jogging, and if he had broken into a bit of a stride, he could probably have been there to stand in front of Saka and block that shot. But again, I'm not sure what your take on that is. Can we just analyse that goal and the concession of it, anything you want to pick out about it before you and I move on to our own goal and a little bit further.
So the thought that flashed through my head just as Saka lined up the shot, so after he's run down the channel, after he takes his first touch, after he chops back and the ball goes through the player's legs, and just as he's about to pull the trigger, the thought that flashes through my head is, this is Mohamed Salah 2 years ago. And that was just an absolute picture book Salah goal, wasn't it? Let's be perfectly honest there.
Yeah.
Many a left back has been left on their backside. Robertson was not great last week, defending one-on-one. He looked a little bit short of the first couple of yards, and anyone can look that against Saka, in fairness. But I do think he was caught on his heels a little bit there, and then because he's having to make up the ground, he's then running faster than he ideally wants to be when Saka's about to take his first touch, and that's why he then loses his footing, because he can't slow down and turn quickly enough. He's either unfortunate or Saka's exceptional, whichever way you want to look at it, in terms of the ball going right between his legs and not taking a little ricochet or a deflection or going behind for a corner or whatever. But you can't take anything away from the goal itself, I don't think. Like, Robertson didn't defend well, fine, but I also think Saka was excellent there. On Van Dijk, yeah, he should have been running back probably quicker. I don't think he should be across any further than he was to begin with, but probably you can run in a little bit quicker so that you're there. But even so, I don't think he gets there before Saka takes a shot. Like, that's 2 touches he takes, one to stop the direction of the ball and one to put it in. And anybody having a go at Queven Keller for that goal, I'm going to put them in net and use a cannon to shoot balls at them, and they have to save it. Otherwise, we fire them out into the ocean. And that's the rule.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. It's point blank and it's a blasted finish high into the net. The blaming the keeper is redundant. Carragher was asked would he back up his mate Neville at halftime in Sky, and he said something about, yeah, well, maybe you should try to get back and help out his pal or something like that. But, you know, he made it all about Saka, which I think you have to do. And it's interesting because the next moment of note is some 5 minutes later where Saka is actually involved with a ball in field in their half, and it's a miscontrol by Merino. The ball bobbles away from him and Mo is in, and he's literally in on goal, kind of. He sweeps a shot first time and it's wide. I think he should do way better. And for a lot of the match, Karl, that was kind of the story, was our main man was not involved at all, like starved of involvement in the first half. I can't even remember many touches by him. You could say the same about someone like Curtis Jones in the first half as well, like in terms of lack of involvement. But there was that stark contrast between the kind of up-and-comer, or the man at the top of his game now and in his prime in Saka, and Mo. Now, Mo will come back into the story later on and come good. But that effort was there for us in the 13th minute, and it was our first one. There was then a diag from Verge to Luis Diaz, who wins a corner on about 17, 18 minutes. And from that corner, it is actually Van Dijk and Diaz involved again, because from the corner by Trent, Luis Diaz at the near post flicks it on in what Ron Atkinson used to delightfully call little eyebrows. And it flicks on beautifully, a little flick, and Virgil's there, and he's actually stooping to head home from point blank range. A lovely goal, really well worked. One of those corners that, you know, you like to see because it's obviously something they've worked on. And again, I'm going to pause to let you talk about that, because whether, again, it was warranted or not, we were right back in the game, and you'd like to think that we could have gotten a foothold there, but the rest of the first half kind of got away from us. Talk to us a little bit about that goal too.
So the goal was actually the first part of the game where I really appreciated what we'd done with our play. Not obviously because the ball went in the back of the net, but apart from the fact of that, is that we reacted quite well to them scoring, to them going ahead, because we'd been poor, we'd been second best, we'd certainly not dealt well with the first shot that they had basically. But after that, it was mostly us on top. I'd say not in a way where we're dominating play and creating chances and all the rest of it, but in reacting a little bit quicker and trying to be a bit more progressive than we had been. So Salah would probably you give him that shot 10 times and he probably scores 6-7 of them. Like, it's very, very quickly at him. He has to probably shoot without looking exactly where Raya is, where the goal is, all the rest of it. And there's someone, I think, closing him down, maybe Marina, who miscontrolled the ball in the first place. I'd still back him to score more often than not, though. And it was, disappointment given the context of the match that he didn't on this occasion. So it wasn't a good first half for how Liverpool were using Salah. Like, using him as an outball is fine and fair enough, but like, it was almost like we were playing to him as a target man and then asking him to sort of lay little balls inside and be half a playmaker, half a target man. It was not really working, considering we didn't have anybody running in behind, we didn't have anybody running off Salah, we didn't have anybody sort of getting quite close to him all the time. So not really much he could do, and he did look to be getting a bit frustrated, to be honest, as the game wore on. But Van Dijk, if he was at all not at fault, but could have done more for the first goal, he was probably the one who was making us play forward a bit more, because even before the ball to Diaz, which won the corner, he'd played another big diagonal pass out to the opposite side of the pitch, tried to get us upfield a bit higher. And yes, like you say, little eyebrows, not often enough used in terminology or in actual gameplay.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.